Okay. Thanks everybody for joining us. This is week 11. This is our Lilinoe, you're our number 10 speaker.
Wow.
And I've had speakers come on every week just to give students a chance to understand what's happening in the field. What are some of the tools that people use? What is the kind of prevailing attitude about computer mediated communications from a professional practitioner's point of view. And so I'll leave the detailed introduction for you, Lilinoe. But for students tuning in, Lilinoe is out in West Oahu, West Oahu campus. And I invited Lilinoe because it's a totally kind of different perspective than some of the previous speakers, because a lot of them were coming from the field, right? They could have been a PR person, a marketing person, outreach person. I did have Stacy Eldridge from the State Library. One area that Lilinoe might resonate with was I did have Brandon Maka'ava from Nation of Hawaii talk a little bit about how he uses a lot of these tools.
Wow.
And so with that, I will hand it over to you, Lilinoe, and you can do your introduction and let me make sure I get the share screen activated here, and then you can go ahead and start your presentation.
Got it. Can you folks see this?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Aloha kako. I'm going to do a little presentation on communicating in Hawaiian using electronic media. And my name is Lilinoe Andrews, and I know that this is COM350. So let me get started by helping you to get to know me a little bit. I've been part of the Hawaiian language movement since 1986. As a student, a preschool teacher, a Hawaiian language immersion teacher on Kauai, an author, illustrator, curriculum developer, translator, and university teacher. I'm currently a curriculum and language specialist at University of Hawaii, West Oahu. Technically, I'm a specialist and I'm a curriculum specialist, but I'm really used a lot for language and culture issues. I'm also leading a grant project to translate the Eddie Kamai songbook, the URL is on here, into Hawaiian. So it's a huge online songbook that's got a lot of scholarly resources, a lot of educational resources, video, audio, all kinds of stuff. And we did it in English, and we're going to translate that into Hawaiian. So that's a big project. It'll take about a year. I speak Hawaiian fluently as my second language after English. And my role in all I do, whether it's at UH West Oahu or the project with the Eddie Kamai songbook or otherwise, is to perpetuate Hawaiian as a spoken language. So that's my goal. And that's what I've been doing for a long time. I'll tell you a little bit about Hawaiian, or Olelo Hawaii. Olelo means to speak. So Olelo Hawaii is Hawaiian language. The language is comprised of 12 letters plus the glottal stop, or the okina. And you can see the okina at the start of the word okina. It's a backwards, upside down apostrophe. Looks like a number 6. And the macron, or the kahako. The okina and kahako change the sound and meaning of a word. The word pau, if you put an okina in it, it means soot, pa'u, or smudge, or ink. If you put an okina and a kahako over the u, pa'u means damp. If you put 2 kahako and that okina, pa'u means a skirt, particularly a women's skirt. And pau with no diacritical marks, and we call the okina and kahako diacritical marks. Pau, is finished, all pau. So those two marks are really important. Other than that, there's just 12 letters. But because you have those two diacritical marks, Hawaiian is very, very specific. The lexicon is huge. In existence right now are over 11 Hawaiian dictionaries, different dictionaries. Dictionary for land use terms. There's a Japanese to Hawaiian dictionary. There's a dictionary for Bible terms. There's all kinds of different dictionaries. The oldest one is probably the Andrews Dictionary from the mid 1800s, maybe. Hawaiian was a spoken language only until 1826, when a committee of missionaries created a standard alphabet and spelling rules. What they did was they took all the sounds they heard and they simplified them. They reduced them down to something more manageable, they thought. And they did this after they had done the same kind of work in Tahiti for the Tahitian language. There were over 150 different Hawaiian language newspapers published over a period of at least 50 years. And at that time, the literacy rate for Hawaiians was over 97%. That's huge. And a lot of people don't know that. So Hawaii had more stuff published in Hawaiian than England had published in English at the same time. That's a lot. So Hawaiians were very literate and very interested in education and very interested in communication. In 1896, Hawaiian was banned in public schools and the literacy rate began to plunge. By the 1980s, there were very few native speakers under the age of 70, but today there are no elderly native speakers. There might be maybe one or two on the island from the island of Niihau. Niihau has a very small population. I can't remember if the number is under 200 or under 50, but they speak Hawaiian there and they speak it with a slightly different dialect. But today there's a new generation of young adults and children who were raised speaking Hawaiian in the home as their first language. So it is growing. The 2016 census reported 18,000 people using Hawaiian at home. That is a huge increase in numbers from just 20 years ago. Hawaii is the only state where a native language is an official language on equal footing with English. There are 3 other states that recognize official indigenous languages, but they don't recognize those languages as equal to English. Hawaii is the only state, and that was done in 1978. There are 22 Hawaiian language immersion schools in Hawaii with an enrollment of about 2,000 kids from K to 12. And part of the growth of Hawaiian has included digital platforms like operating systems, apps, and the use of Hawaiian as a key language on those platforms. So let me tell you something interesting. This is how it started. In 1992, with the help of Steve Sisler at Apple and Bank of Hawaii, Hilo started using SoftArc's first-class BBS or bulletin board system, providing email, discussion areas, chat rooms, file transfers, and other features. It ran on a server over a network system called Hawaii FYI, which was run by the state of Hawaii. They translated the BBS into Hawaiian and they called it Leo Ki, powerful voice. And I remember I was working for these guys when this came out, and I used Leo Ki for my email and stuff. So it kind of looked like this. It had that old font and stuff. This is like the dusty old days when computers started, but that's what we used. And so all of a sudden, all us guys on different islands could talk to each other, you know, and after like 2:15 in the afternoon, I'd have kids from immersion schools emailing me, oh, aloha, kumu Lilinoe, blah, 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 blah. It was great. So we conducted all of our business in Hawaiian. That's how we've always done it. Then in 2002, Apple put out the Jaguar operating system, OS 10.2, and they included a Hawaiian keyboard layout for the operating system and fonts with the diacritical marks in the Hawaiian language. You know, the people at Hilo called Apple for a comment on this. Like, you guys want to give us a press release, and they thought it was it's no big deal at all. This is just a minor thing. And then 20 news organizations picked up on this story. Then Apple called back and said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, I guess this is a big deal." Okay. And it was a big deal. So Hawaiian was one of the first foreign languages keyboards that Apple put in computers. And so now, not only Apple, but the non-Apple computers can handle Hawaiian language, along with a lot of other languages that have diacritical marks. But the iOS system uses Hawaiian too. So on my phone, my calendar's in Hawaiian, my Safari's in Hawaiian. What else? My time is in Hawaiian. It's a little different, and so on. So that really started in 2002 with release of OS 10.2.
Lilinoe.
Yes.
So what was it that the media was most interested in? Because you said that 20-something responded, to the press release. What were they most attracted to? The fact that it was a new language? Or?
Yeah, a fact that Apple had put a very small language compared to other languages like Hindi and French and, German and stuff like that, that they put Hawaiian on the keyboard. So lots of people in the world don't even realize Hawaiian is a living language. It's a viable living language. They're like, "Oh, is Hawaiian have a language?" Yes, yes. And it's not dead. It's fact, it's growing. It's the fastest growing native language in the United States. So yeah, they were amazed that Hawaiian showed up on the computers. And then they would find out about all the immersion schools and the preschools and stuff like that, and all the things that were bubbling up in Hawaii. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Online in Hawaiian, computer-mediated communication is essential, I think, in keeping Hawaiian alive by increasing the number of speakers, particularly since we're a multi-island state and we're separated by ocean. Platforms that Hawaiian conversation takes place on includes mostly Zoom, email, texting, and chats on mobile devices, as you can imagine. Like, this is a screenshot from my phone where I'm talking to one of my friends. And you can see over here my date. This Po'alua means Tuesday. And then it's 27 Aukake, 27th of August. And then you have the time. So that's baked into my system because I choose the date and time to be in Hawaiian, and it displays the Okina and Kahako just fine because I use a Hawaiian keyboard. So really, we use everything everybody else does, in terms of platforms for communicating, whether we're doing work or communicating. It's the same stuff. And so the attitude is, this is fabulous. Us Hawaiian language speaking people love technology. We love it because it's allowing more people to talk to each other because we're separated by channels, all of our islands, right? But because we have these, especially with mobile devices, we can just you can go through your whole day with work and whatever and be speaking Hawaiian. It's fantastic. So that's kind of the prevailing attitude. Are there downsides? Well, being in the presence of someone is important in Hawaiian culture, and we lose that with digital communication. More specifically, body language and behavior are important in Hawaiian culture, very important, particularly when speaking. So it's difficult to see all of my body language, right? Hawaiian speakers don't tend to use their hands a lot. So it's kind of good. The digital communication, you don't move around a whole lot. You're not moving and stretching your arms and going, I'm making points like this. No. You'll see that with Nihao people too. definitely with older native speakers, most all of whom have passed on. There's a stillness to their body language. And so, but still we lose a little bit of that when we're on Zoom, and we lose all of it if we're texting and so on. So just like in English, we lose nuance in terms of being able to read the situation. So those are some downsides, but the ability, like I said before, of various computer platforms to support more people learning the language, speaking it, and using it as a work tool, it vastly outweighs the limitations by far. So it's like, we'll take it, and make sure we get together once a year or something. In terms of the future, the use of digital technology through the medium of Hawaiian will increase, just as I think all of us will increase our use of digital technology. But I think in the Hawaiian context, Hawaiian language context, it's just going to increase as well. My hope is to see more targeted apps to support Hawaiian language learning, accessing the huge amount of resources that are out there. There are so many ways to learn Hawaiian language online, to learn Hawaiian language on your phone, to access all of those newspapers I talked about. They're digitized, and we use them all the time. They're amazing what's in them. The cache of 1.5 million pages is huge. So there's a Hawaiian music and hula repository that you can just, online. So one day for one of my classes, I put together a list of all the Hawaiian language resources I could think of on the phone, on the computer, and I put the URLs down, and it took 1.5 pages. It's huge. So I'm hoping that there could be some apps that would make it easier to go. Like I have my Hawaiian language dictionaries on my phone and on my computer, and it is so fast to look up words. So I'm hoping there's more like that. I'm also hoping, my crazy hope is that someone will come up with an app that will let you know if there's any Hawaiian speakers around you in the vicinity, so you could talk to them. I would love my phone to ping if somebody who could speak Hawaiian is 10 feet or less away from me. That would be great. Instead of just going to Long's and, hearing someone speaking Hawaiian, but they look like me, you'd never guess, right? So that's my hope. So that's kind of where we are now. I'm wondering if any of you have any questions or yeah.
Let me know that example that you just brought up, that proximity indicator of somebody that speaks. Would that be something that you would probably have to kind of opt into, right? So you would have an app that's on your phone, and you would program it or set it so that it has a fact that you're a native speaker, a Hawaiian speaker, and then it would then potentially like send out some notifications of that.
Exactly. And sometimes if I don't like talk, I don't turn them off. Maybe I'm tired, I don't want to talk to anybody, but most of the time I'd probably have it on, because that would be really cool to be able to know that you can speak Hawaiian to somebody, especially when, you can't tell nowadays who can speak Hawaiian and stuff. So yeah, that's what maybe one of you guys could come up with that, please. That would be great. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? Are you wondering about anything, or you need some? I'll tell you another downside. Actually, I thought of but I didn't put it on there. Zoom has a really hard time with sound. So when people are teaching chanting or teaching singing, or even hula, where you have to have some sort of accompaniment, there's that lag time, and it's really tough. I've heard there are ways to change the settings so you don't have that echo or that lag, but I don't know how to do it. So that's a downside for Zoom. It kind of limits how much of that kind of teaching you can do.
Have you found how accurate Zoom might be, or any transcription service that you might use on Zoom to actually transcribe Hawaiian in any level of accuracy?
Yes, that's a really, really really good question. So I've used Otter to transcribe meetings, and they have a real hard time with Hawaiian. Siri has a hard time with Siri can't understand even local people speaking English sometimes because of all of our street names and stuff like that. So that's frustrating. Like I really don't use Siri because of that. And I tested out AI and I kind of asked about some Hawaiian language stuff. Couldn't handle it. There's just not, AI hasn't pulled in enough Hawaiian language information yet. But I suspect that that will change quickly.
Yeah, I would guess that would change if there's a way to correlate between what is spoken and what is actually transcribed. And you know how state government, if you are testifying or you're doing something with the legislators, they typically have some kind of transcription, and it oftentimes doesn't even transcribe English words accurately. So, you could run into a situation where the information is getting stored, but it's not right because it transcribed incorrectly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there definitely does need to have improvement in the ability to kind of transcribe English and then of course Native Hawaiian more accurately.
I agree with you. One of the things I'm involved with at UH West Oahu is looking at the intersection between Hawaiian culture and AI. So we are looking at that because there's the Center for Creative Media out at UH West Oahu, and that's connected to UH Manoa. And so we're starting to take a look at that. And we're also looking at the intellectual property aspect of that. That's kind of my specialty area in terms of this project. But I'm really, really interested to see where we go with that. And I think that I will push the Hawaiian language side of it because I think we need to catch up there. And we're especially looking at Hawaiian culture, AI, and mathematics. That's another specialty area, how those converge, how those triangulate. So that will be interesting to see what comes out of it.
Kind of a side question. Are you attending that conference tomorrow over at the convention center?
Yeah.
Indigenous Innovation.
Are you going to be there?
Yeah. I'm gonna be there.
Good. I'll see you there. I'll be there all day.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, these intersections that you've described, and I'm sure there's probably some good thought and projects that have been underway, and I'm hoping to hear about some of those.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And now that we've sort of talked about that, and I brought up the work at UH West Oahu, I will sort of keep my eyes peeled for people that may be involved in that sort of thing, because maybe we can get some traction on this issue.
Yeah. Another thing that, another technical application that I wonder if you've run across, with all the translation work or the digitization work that goes on with some of the newspapers that are in the Hawaiian language, does Adobe pick up the language and properly sort of like depicted in a with the diacriticals and the okina and the kahako?
In general, yeah, but I don't know if they use Adobe to do the OCR.
Yeah, OCR, yeah.
I think they use a program out of New Zealand, Aotearoa, called Greenstone. And I'm not sure if they still use Greenstone, but that was what was used for years and years and years. Speaking of the Maori population, the Maori speaking population, Aotearoa, I also just saw that they are translating Siri into Maori. which is the first time I've heard of that. So they're a little bit ahead of the Hawaiians in terms
So
of,
they are they're working directly with Apple
I
to
think so. Yeah.
put together a Maori language version of Siri.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
How does that how would that work? I mean, how would you get something like that started for Hawaiian?
I think we have to have somebody from the Hawaiian language community here. And actually, we do. The person that spearheaded a lot of that early work with Apple and also Microsoft is Keola Donaghy, and he is on Maui. He's at Maui College. And he is the one that put that news piece out about Siri being translated into Maori. And my guess is that my hope is that he will jump into the fray and at least designate somebody around here to start advocating, hey, let's get that going for Hawaii. Yeah.
Well, wasn't he the one that started the online version of the Hawaiian dictionary?
No, that's Kaliko Trap.
Oh,
Yeah, Kaliko Trap put together Vehe Vehe Viki Viki, which is the first Hawaiian language online dictionary was under what's the monster? I'm going to open up this list I have and take a look at it. Vehe Vehe under Ulukau is the big Hawaiian language dictionary. But then he put together Vehe Vehe Viki Viki, which is sort of like quick dictionary, but it actually is so much better than the other one, partly because it's faster. You don't have to make your spelling exact. You don't have to put diacriticals in. You can just guess at the word. And then all the definitions, the definitions from like 7 different dictionaries will come up. So that was Kaliko Trap, but Keola Donaghy was really the forerunner in technology. He put Leoki together, the bulletin board system, and worked with the big companies to get Hawaiian up there.
Was he involved with anything in the dictionary sort of field? I thought I saw his name come up in some platform that he was involved in early on.
Oh,
Leoki is the only one.
Leoki and probably Kualono, which is out of University of Hawaii at Hilo, and probably other things. He worked really hard. His particular superpowers are not just technology, but Hawaiian music. He's also a musician. So yeah, he's very active. Yeah.
What do you see being the role of some of the platforms that are popular, whether it be Instagram or Facebook or even TikTok? What role do they play in helping to perpetuate the Hawaiian language?
Well, I know that on Instagram you have at least 3 or 4 people that are putting out little tidbits of teaching Hawaiian language. And so it's easy to access. It's quick. It's approachable. It's also a great format for putting out chunks of information on things that are coming up, events that are coming up, issues that are coming up in terms of Hawaiian language. It's great to have that. And it's great to have something come up and then you see all the comments in Hawaiian. It's wonderful. So I think that that's the role that those play. Again, it's helping people communicate in Hawaiian, and it's helping to hopefully grow the number of people that are just simply interested in Hawaiian language, if not start to get serious about learning it.
What is your response to whether or not news media, well, particularly print or online, like Civil Beat or Star Advertiser, how they should or shouldn't be true to the the diacritical of all the, all the various words. You would probably think it's a requirement, but I don't know if they necessarily adhere to that requirement.
Well, I'll tell you that according to the AP Style Manual, which is the Associated Press Style Manual, they advocate and say that you should use those diacritical marks when you are transmitting Hawaiian language through writing. For a long, long time, our newspapers here used the kako and the okina. They used it. When things got consolidated and reduced down to the Star Advertiser made the decision to not use diacriticals. And a lot of us spoke up about that and said, hey, you should use it. The reason for using the diacriticals are to help all of us who weren't born speaking the language know how to interpret a Hawaiian word, because of the example I gave you about pa'u, 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 and pau.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have the diacriticals in there, and the newspapers never use them, the old Hawaiian language newspapers, they almost never use them. 99% of the time they didn't use them. And we read them, those of us who speak Hawaiian, no problem. Every once in a while, I'll look up a word and go, oh, is it po or pa'u? I need to know, but contextually, you can figure it out. So a lot of us really spoke up and said, what you guys need to, this is an official state language. You guys need to put the diacriticals in there, because everyone who speaks now pretty much wasn't born a native speaker, meaning that Hawaiian is your first language. So we're disappointed with that they're not using that, which has nothing at all to do with pronunciation of Hawaiian by our news media. When you watch TV, that's a whole other story. They try really hard to get place names right, but a lot of times they get kind of sloppy. But print, in terms of print, communicating via print, even if it's digital, yeah, it would be great to see them put the diacriticals back in. Yeah.
So your advice to these budding communications professionals in this class is to honor the actual spelling in its I guess in the proper use of diacriticals.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put below here where I say it, mahalo, I will put the vehe vehe, viki viki. Is it .com or .org? I don't know. Try both. Vehe vehe viki viki.org. That's the online, that's the online dictionary. It's great. So if you don't know how to spell something, you just look up over there and then you can put your diacriticals in. It is important because it is the language of this land, and it's the official state language. Here's the other thing. All of us that live in Hawaii, whether we're from here or not, we live in this culture that we think is pretty neat. We live in a place we think, wow, man, I'm so lucky to be here. That I'm lucky to be here comes from all of the cultures that have come together in Hawaii to create a Hawaii culture. All of those cultures came here after Hawaiians came here in the year 400 or so, sent their best and brightest on the canoes, survived a voyage longer than any other voyage on the planet. And that culture is the bedrock underneath all those other cultures. It's Hawaiian, and it's still alive. So if you have an appreciation for this Hawaii culture, that is built on top of a living Hawaiian culture, it would be nice to give back a little bit. And you can do that by spelling Hawaiian right, or starting to pay attention to street signs and stuff like that. And to even learn a little bit of Hawaiian. And then if you could please make my app that pings when a Hawaiian speaker is near you, that would be awesome.
Oh, that might not be that hard. If you had told me there's the Hawaii annual code challenge that's happening not this Saturday but next Saturday.
Oh.
And it could have been a app challenge. that was submitted. But maybe next year we could submit something.
Oh, that would be
So
so
it's
cool.
usually built by student teams.
Yeah. Yeah, it can't be that hard now. Things have gotten way easier now than they were.
Yeah, yeah. Questions? Any questions? I don't want to hog all the, you know, air time.
I have a
I guess
question.
another. Oh yeah,
Shoot,
sure.
shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, I wrote it in the chat box. I'm currently a developing native Hawaiian speaker, so I just wrote it in Hawaiian for you to read.
Awesome. Let me get back to that screen. Where am I? Gotta stop sharing so I can see the chat box. He ako mana no ChatGPT. Maloho kia o mai ano ho lelo Hawaii ina I ho'ohana oe mamua. Well, Elike me kaui o lelo ai mamua, as I said before, I kind of experimented with it and kind of saw, well, could it help me write a paper or an article on something? It kind of couldn't handle, but it needs to come up to speed. In terms of learning Hawaiian or teaching Hawaiian, I don't know. I don't know about that yet. I think it's got to get loaded with Hawaiian first. That's a good question.
I tried it before just to converse with something else to see if it was verbally accurate. And
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of spot on for some things, but in form of like structure, it wasn't like super spot on. But I know that at the bottom of GPT, it says that it's consistently developing if you just give it like suggestions of what's wrong and what's right.
Oh,
Like it's consistently developing over its accuracy to the language.
cool. Well, because you said that, you asked that question, I'm gonna check in with ChatGPT regularly and see if it can handle more and more. I sure hope so.
So hey, are you using the free version of ChatGPT?
Yes. I don't typically use it. I just use it to see like what it does for Olelo Hawaii. I don't normally use it, but it was brought up a lot last semester when I first got into communications. So I just tried it out a couple of times to see what it was about.
No, that's good. To Lilinoe's point, ChatGPT is only as good as what has been loaded into it, and the free version is for the most part pulling stuff that's freely available on the internet. So it'll pull stuff from I don't know, Wikipedia and other obvious various sources on the internet. Or I think the paid version, you can actually build your own chat bot and call it, ChatGPT is basically a chat bot. And if you were to load up all the, let's say, documents that are in Hawaiian that have some ability for ChatGPT to, make some kind of translation, you could actually do it if you had the documents. You could load it up, and then ChatGPT would use that as resource or source information, and then put it back out. But I think that would be an environment that you'd have to either only do it in Hawaiian, or you'd have to also train ChatGPT to translate appropriately.
Oh, I'm so going to check this out. Thank you for giving me yet another interesting project to dive into. I'm sure everybody who employs me will not be happy about this, but I'm going to check it out and especially talk to people tomorrow and see if anyone's doing it. Keep reading about people going, oh, I developed my own chatbot, for research papers or for whatever, for crunching data in a specific field of study. So yeah, somebody may be working on it already.
Malia, I see your hand up.
Aloha mai kaua eke kumu.
Hey, aloha.
I'm also a developing Native Hawaiian speaker. But he ninau ka'u, are there any other, I guess, AI like ChatGPT, search engine kind of things that are trying to use Olelo Hawaii, like beyond ChatGPT?
I do not know of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. Do you?
Ole.
Yeah, yeah.
So are you talking about stuff like, I mean, you have things like Claude, right? There's Claude. These are all for basically English, right? English. So you can use Claude, you can use Perplexity,
Perplexity, I'm gonna check.
and then Google came out with something called Notebook. So if you go and Google, Notebook AI, you can build your chatbot in Notebook, but you gotta feed it all the information that you want it to, feed back out to you.
Mhm.
So you could develop it. It's just that you have to have a good volume of information to feed it.
Well, I think, because up until about a month ago, I was in the doctoral program at UH Hilo for Hawaiian language and Hawaiian culture. I have tons of research papers all in Hawaiian, people's theses that are in Hawaiian and stuff like that. So I actually have a whole stack of that stuff. Plus, we have the Hawaiian language newspapers, which
Right.
just 1.5 million pages of text. And the old newspapers were broadsides. They were huge, not like our newspapers today. So that may be what's available to feed into a chatbot. Oh boy, I'm excited.
So what happened to that PhD program?
What program? Oh,
The
PhD
PhD
program. I realized that I am absolutely swamped in my life right now. So I cannot do it. I just cannot do it. It was a heartbreaking decision to pull out of it after 2 years. So I was on my end of doing all my classwork and stuff. So I had to put that aside and think of doing a different program probably here at UH Manoa. Yeah, it's just too much going on.
Well, tomorrow's conference, I think you should bring up the use of things like ChatGPT in feeding it all the right information to create, a native Hawaiian version of it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna do it.
And I gotta figure somebody's working on that.
Somebody's working on it. It's not that hard. So somebody's working on it. Yeah, I just need to ask around with my peeps too and find out. By the way, the other thing you folks can do in addition to using the online dictionary and kind of paying attention to street signs and trying to learn a little bit about Hawaiian culture and Hawaiian language is you can learn Hawaiian language on, which app is it? Let me look. Duolingo. Duolingo's program for Hawaiian language is really good. I went on there because a friend of mine was doing it and I wanted to see how good it was. The pronunciation, the speakers they have on there I think I know who one of them is, are really good. It's really high quality. So you can just pop over to Duolingo.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And that Duolingo made a lot of friends, I guess, by having the Hawaiian language, in their portfolio.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So, Lilinoe, what do you tell folks that might have heard a Hawaiian, name for an island? I'll give you an example, like Molokai versus Molokai.
Ah.
And is one right and the other wrong? And how do you determine, which is the correct pronunciation?
I'll answer that by telling you two things. One thing that I would say is one of the most important of the proverbial sayings in Hawaiian is "Ole pau ka ike I ka halau ho'okahi." All knowledge is not contained in one school, which means be real careful when you're criticizing stuff that's different from what you know, because it may be taught differently in a different way. So to say that either Molokai or Molokai is wrong, you would have a hard time having someone come right out and say that. Here's the second thing. Not too long ago, it may have been in early 2024, maybe 2023, 2024, the folks at UH Hilo that run the Kani Aina collection, which is audio and video of native speakers. It's a huge database. It is fantastic. We're really wondering about Molokai versus Molokai. So they went in and they listened to all these speakers. I don't know whether they assigned it to students to do or what, and tried to pick it up. All the native speakers said Molokai. The only people that say Molokai are like younger people. So we're guessing that Molokai is probably more accurate than Molokai. So I'll say that.
So those younger people that were saying Molokai, what year was that they were saying Molokai?
I don't know specifically. I'm going to guess something like 80s, probably 90s and forward. That's my guess, because as we're losing native speakers, elderly people, native speakers, the language is flexing a lot more than it would have with all those native speakers. So we're getting, and also there's this little controversy out there whether we should use diacriticals at all. There's a couple proponents saying, oh, you shouldn't use diacriticals because, the Hawaiian language newspapers didn't use them and Kupuna didn't use them. Kupuna didn't use them. They spoke them. If you listen to them, you will hear the diacriticals. They were very specific about pa'u versus pa'u. And so on. And so to me, as someone who can handle without the diacriticals, yeah, it's a lot easier for me to write little notes to myself without diacriticals, and sometimes I do, and to be able to text really fast without diacriticals. But I use them. And I think that the ability to help people understand what words mean is really important. And so I think we should use them until we get this whole huge generation of kids that are born, raised with Hawaiian as their first language, and their fluency in it and their fluency in understanding how native speakers spoke is so high that we can relax on the diacriticals. But I think they're important. Yeah.
And then this will be my last question. Unless other students want to chime in. So, Lilinoe, there are different dialects, right, in the Hawaiian community.
There's only Hawaiian as it's spoken, and then the Ni'ihau dialect. The Ni'ihau dialect is different. They use T's. E tioi ke kutui. E ki oi I ke kukui. E ti oi I ke kukui. Te tutui. It's a little bit hard because sometimes they'll keep K's in there, but a lot of times they use T's, use S's a lot. And then they have their own words for things. And so that's a little different. That's different, especially the vocabulary that they have is different, some of it. But outside of that, Ni'ihau speakers, it's pretty much one dialect of Hawaiian language. Now, some older people used to say, you guys learning Hawaiian, you guys speak it wrong. That's not how we speak it. Well, there's how you speak English or Hawaiian or any other language at home, where you kind of, and there's pidgin English, where you kind of, make shortcuts and stuff like that, and you're lazy with your pronunciation. And then there's speaking outside of the house, maybe, especially in a scholarly context, which is much more structured. The Hawaiian you hear today is much more structured because a lot of it is coming from those old newspapers and the historians and the experts, Hawaiian historians that were very beautiful writers. So their grammar was very complete. So that's kind of the way we've learned it, rather than a sort of backyard rural approach where you get shortcuts left and right, but we can all understand each other.
Yeah. All right, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, any last questions for Lilinoe? Okay, going once, going twice. Okay. Well, Lilinoe, thanks for joining us, and I really appreciate your insight into this topic. It's one of those that I am very interested in, but I'm terrible at a second language. So I'll just resonate with certain words. Okay, so with that, I will end this recording, and then I want to thank everybody for joining.